Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show we're going to be talking about all of our geeky interests. We're going to be talking about movies and TV shows, comic books, and video games. My name's Tommy, and I'm delighted to be joined, as always, by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's the D-R-E... Why?
Motherfucker.
Why?
D-R-E-Y, yeah.
It's Dre.
It's
How are you,
Dre.
mate?
Not a gangster. Named after my great-grandma.
Grandma?
Her maiden name, yes.
Oh.
It's actually quite cool, but it's definitely not gangster.
It's not in the slightest. I like it, though. It's
not
name.
OG.
It's not...
Well, it is OG, but it's not OG.
It's like the D-R-E... Why?
Maybe?
Yeah, you know an Anchorman where he'll say anything if you put it on the teleprompter.
What does he say?
Why?
You bitch? Or something. What does he say? I forget.
He's like, stay classy.
San Diego. yeah.
That's exactly what I just did.
Fuck you, San Diego, or something like that. He's like, how could you do this to me, Ronnie?
Oh, it's such a great film.
Nice movie.
I'd love to talk about that. It's nothing to do with what we're...
Dude, Anchorman 2 is underrated. It's not...
Way underrated.
It's not like as good as Anchorman 1, but it got torn up, and it's not as bad as they make it out to seem.
I think it's a case of... everyone went in with too high expectations.
Of course, yeah. Because they waited too long.
Whereas I was the opposite. I went in thinking it was going to be shit. So when it was good, I was like, fuck, this is actually great.
Most comedies that are like sequels that weren't like planned... Well, to be fair, you don't really need to plan them for a comedy. It just needs to be funny.
No,
but they're usually sequels aren't as good.
You get the right actors. You get like the right cast. I mean, even keeping the right cast in that case, I think Paul Rudd is an underrated gem in those movies. He is so. Everyone talks about Steve Carell as Brick.
Well, Steve Carell was just so ridiculous. But now that like we've seen him in more ridiculous roles, it's not. Oh, yeah. Going back to it, you're like, this is him. Paul Rudd was just like weird. It's just so
60% of the time, it works every time.
Whammy.
That doesn't make sense. We could talk about this all day. Well, how are you, mate? What have you been up to?
Good. It's been a busy one, you know? All the stuff, the rush before the holidays.
Oh my God, yeah. Tell me about it.
Closing out work stuff, you know, the normal.
Well, I should really apologize for last time out. Like, I was terrible on the last podcast. Like, I literally was
he's
so
hard
sick.
on himself, this English lad. He's very hard on himself.
Dude, I crashed. I was sick for 6 days after that.
Okay.
Literally couldn't move. Was like... I thought I had the Rona.
He had the COVID.
I was lucky. I was lucky I didn't have the Rona. Me and my girlfriend got tested. We're fine.
Took the nasal swab.
It was great. Oh my God, it's so painful.
Yeah, it's up there.
Well, it's not painful. It's just
brain.
like, yeah. Well, the lady who did ours, she was like, this is gonna feel like if you eat too much wasabi all at once, and then you feel like that sneezing sensation that's just kind of pain. I was like, that's exactly what it feels like.
Because I just had the nose surgery. I'd had much worse things happen recently. So the COVID,
you're not just poking around in a bit that was...
The COVID test was nothing. It's child's play.
We're back on form. Yeah. That's the main point of this conversation.
What have I been doing?
What are you up to? Talk to me.
I think I haven't been watching or doing anything in the last week, to be fair. I'm really lame this week. But you start, and I'll try and think if I actually watched anything. Okay,
well, I mean, I have... It was one of those where I didn't have the mental capacity to watch things that I was actually interested in, so I was just rewatching crap. So I have continued with my kind of rewatch of Daredevil.
Okay.
Obviously, continued on with Miles Morales. Fantastic game. I'm probably about 65-70% of the way through. Doing a lot of swinging around New York, finding new outfits. I just got this one. I've forgotten the name of it, but it's essentially... It's like nanotech, I think, and it's so fucking cool. It just looks sick. It looks like something out of like one of the Iron Man movies.
Yeah.
I just got that one off his uncle, The Prowler. We talked about Aaron Davies a bunch of times over the last podcast, or the one before. And the other thing I did was off the back of friend of the show Steve's recommendation. Was he actually messaged us during the week.
If you say Condor Man.
It's not. I wish I'd watched that. That was friend of the show, Matt. But I actually went away and watched a thing on Disney Plus, that stream platform that I've had no use for right now. And you're going to love this. It's a show and it's called Earth 616. And what it is it's essentially a bunch of like highlight reels of different things that have happened and are happening throughout Marvel's history and to the present day, explaining a little bit about them. And it's got a bunch kind of like weird episodic documentaries. And the first one just happens to be something that we've laughed about a lot on this show. And it was Japanese Spider-Man. And it gave you like the backstory of it and how it came about and stuff. Now it's not like, it wouldn't be the way that I'd like us to talk about it because you have to take the piss out of the dumb stuff if you're talking about it in this sort of format, right? Yeah. But it was really interesting finding out about the history of it. And it was an American guy whose name escapes me for the moment, who realized that the Japanese market is just so different to the US market in terms of what their comic books, obviously manga, look like, and how they and how they consume their media in terms of like TV shows. So, for example, he realized that over there it was quite commonplace to have like a big robot in your TV shows for kids. Yeah. And obviously that's nothing to do with Spider-Man. So what they did was they effectively rewrote it, like the origins of, it's not Peter Parker in the show, it's a different
Is person. It like the Spider-Verse thing?
No. Although he is slated to be in the next Into the Spider-Verse 2, which I would think would be hilarious. Anyway, it's very good, it's really interesting, and it's good background for us to have a conversation about it at some point, but it's not along the lines I'd like to talk about it. Okay. Because I'd like to talk about the dumb shit in that show.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to? I see you've got this huge tome.
Yeah, I haven't even. It's
Jesus.
It's
you could kill someone with this.
You literally could drop that off a third story and just.
Dude, you could do it from this close. If you hit someone with that, you go down.
It's a tome. What book is it? It's the one I've been talking about and will be talking about for a while because it is thick and I will take me a while. Yeah. But it's the Bryan Sanderson book, Rhythm of War. It's good. What else?
Does it take a while to get into? I feel like when you got a book that size,
it started a bit slow, but there's certain storylines that I'm really intrigued by. But they keep emphasizing the ones I'm not right now. So, but this thing, it's like actually, usually they print them out and like. You see these other ones? I'm looking. I have a wall. I'm very cultured, guys. I have a wall of books. Imagine like the Beauty and the Beast library. Yeah, your culture. That's my.
It's a row of books. Yeah, by the way.
Those are all one book. That's like part 1 and part 2. But when he releases it right away,
can you just tell us what they are?
Oh yeah, sorry. It's the other parts of this series, but they're all broken up into 2 books.
Yep.
This one actually, because it just got released, this is the first one I got right when it came out. Yeah, came as one,
it's paperback. So
it's paperback, but
new?
It's thick. No, he released the paperback one with the hardcover, which is
really? That's odd, very unusual.
Very odd decision.
There you go.
I've been reading that, and then as far as watching, I mean, Mandalorian. I watched the most recent episode. That's probably the only thing of topical significance to this podcast that I watched this week. Wasn't thrilled with that one.
So this is
so much
14, right?
This is the one, not the one the good one that introduced. So
I just watched the one with Ahsoka Tano.
So you're one behind.
Yes, correct. I'm nearly caught up. I had to watch like 3.
So I don't want to talk about it then. Not that you would care, to be honest. But
I enjoyed that one. But so this was my problem with what we talked about, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they gave one massive bit of fan casting to make everyone happy, but the rest of it is so average.
That episode. I thought that episode was pretty cool the way they did it.
I completely agree.
You're saying the rest of the season.
What I'm saying is the rest of the season to me.
Yeah, okay, that's a fair evaluation. I do think that she was a badass though. The casting was very well done.
So she's actually the same actress who plays the animated version. So she voice cast the animated version.
Ah, well, I guess there's a lot of makeup, so like you could make it like however you want. Yeah.
But I guess they use a lot of her like facial like movements and stuff. Well, I assume for the show because I mean it was hella similar, right?
Yeah. In any case, that one was that. I love that episode. The next one, I think you're gonna. I don't want to distort your view.
Is that the last in the season?
There's 2 more, I think. So the first season was 8 episodes or chapters. So you'd expect this one to have another 8, which we're on 6. So there'd be 2 more.
Yeah. So 2 more. That makes sense.
In any case, this one, I don't want to like skew your opinion of it, but I think you're gonna hate it.
Oh, hate it. Wow.
The next one, I don't think
strong.
I don't think you're gonna like it,
even by my standards.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna like it.
Look, I'm coming around a little bit. I think
this will put you back to where you were. You're gonna come around and you're gonna be like, oh, bad. Now I'm back.
It's back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I enjoy it for what it is. Like we've talked about this 1,000 times. Like it's great. It's fine.
Yeah.
Are you playing any video games this week?
I didn't play any new video games, although the chatting about Mass Effect made me want to put that one back in, but I don't actually have it, and I have the 360 version.
Right.
And they're gonna make a new one that's like remastered, so I'll just wait.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Is that coming out Xbox? Wait, you gonna get a PS5 or are you gonna get the?
I'm gonna get the PS5 so that I can get the best of both worlds for once. Oh. Because all the new Xbox stuff is coming out on the 360 or the Xbox One. Yeah, the 5. So the 360 was a great console.
Wait, all the good Xbox stuff is coming out on the PlayStation.
All the good Xbox stuff that I would want to get the next Xbox for is still going to be backward compatible. Like they're going to release a version for the Xbox One. So like basically,
they're a bit like that for PlayStation
and like Fable, all these ones that I'd actually be down for are probably going to be on both. So I might as well get new IP from PlayStation.
Right.
And it looks like it's a better console, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. Well, actually, that was a question.
If I can get it.
That was actually a question that a friend of the show, Steve, fired us a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot to ask. It was which one do you want to get? And I'm a PS5 guy. He's actually already got one from what he told us. So
yeah,
good for you, Steve.
I used to have PlayStation and Xbox. I had a PlayStation 2 and an Xbox, and then I chose 360 and didn't get the PS3. And then I never looked back. Right, I did Xbox again, but
because I've never had an Xbox. My brother has Xbox. I've never had it.
Their IP hasn't been as good lately. The only reason I went back was Halo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this last generation, I feel like they did lose me. I'm going to try and get a anyway.
They're trying. Well, let's seamlessly dive into the news then. And up top, the one piece of news I want to talk about is that just this week I finally became an uncle. I'm so pumped.
Uncle Armsy. Just don't hold the baby too tight for his sake.
Well, with all that's going on, I probably won't get to meet him.
Wow, fucking heavy.
A little while. Yeah, jeez, I know. Gross.
Fucking dark.
Well, yeah, no, I'm truly pumped for my brother and his wife. Like, awesome. Congrats, guys. Love you both.
Well done. Good job.
Well done. Well, it was a little. He was a little late.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we can all vibe that.
I'm late to everything. So he's already learned from me. He already knows the vibe. So yeah. Well, let's talk about comic book news then. So, in a week. Last week, when we had so little to go on and we had to vibe off many little things to try and hope for the best, we have had all the fucking news this week. And this is actually being recorded slightly later than usual. So there has been some incredible drops from Marvel just yesterday announcing their full slate moving forward. Hours ago. It's insane. It's incredible. But what I think we're going to do is we're going to hold off talking about it for now. And we're actually going to do a full episode on it maybe next week. So what I'm going to do is take you through the news we've had.
Old news.
Old news. Leading up to this point. It's
old news.
It's sad. No, it's actually incredible. The final piece of news, and I'm going to hold off telling you it till the very last minute, is actually insane. It's phenomenal. And I think you're going to love it. You should know this really, to be perfectly honest. So first and foremost, we had some news on the new Hawkeye TV show. We actually had a bunch of pictures leaked or dropped, whichever way around, where we have seen...
It depends who's leaking it.
Yeah, it depends.
Who's putting the send button.
Yeah. It has been confirmed that Haley Steinfeld will be playing Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye season. Now, she is a very famous character from the comic books.
She's grew up in like Disney stuff.
I think I don't know her that well, but you can see her. You can see her in costume on a bunch of the pictures. You can see them real beat up. There's actually a cool piece of news that they are going to be going with. In some of the pictures, Hawkeye actually has, Jeremy Renner actually has a hearing aid in. So one of the famous comic book storylines is that he does lose his hearing, which is really going to be interesting. And I'm kind of pumped for this. Like, I'm getting more and more excited. I think it's just because new content's finally moving.
From Marvel as well.
From Marvel, yeah, we're getting closer and closer. But that's a nice piece of news. And I think there's a dog in the pictures too. I'm so easily distracted. I think it's a golden retriever, so I'm super happy about that.
What was her name? Haley
Steinfeld.
Okay.
Yeah. Now this is one that I think you're going to love. Moving swiftly on. Yeah. There has been some Game of Thrones news this week.
I did see that.
Did you? Okay. Well, there's some concept art has been shared for what the dragons will look like for House of the Dragon. I don't know if you've seen these. I'm actually going to tweet these later, so they should.
They're just kind of look like the same ones.
They're going to be the same dragons. It's the same shit.
Just different colors.
It's just really interesting, though. I think the main point here is that production is going to begin in 2021. Okay. So we'll probably get the show either late 2022 or early 23. Which,
that's crazy.
It's
going to be a while away.
Now, we've already talked about Hawkeye. I actually should have mentioned it before, but they have added extra cast members to the cast. We have the real key interesting one here is Florence Pugh, who is in the Black Widow movie, who is effectively going to be Black Widow's replacement.
Wow.
The rumors seem to be.
Okay.
So it's really interesting she's going to be in that. Now I'm skipping over a couple because I'm gonna save a bunch of fun news till the end because we could do a whole episode on all the news that's come out just this week. But so one thing that I was very confused about in our conversations is that Star Wars and Dune actor Oscar Isaac is apparently in talks to play Solid Snake in a Metal Gear Solid movie.
He's just so hot right now.
So hot right He's now. So hot right now. I really like that. Well, I really like
I feel like I don't want to see too much of him though, because I really like him. And if you just start playing every character I love, different
in every role.
I'm not going to be able to like all of them. Eventually, you're going to whiff. You know what I mean?
True.
But that being said, I don't really love Metal Gear Solid Snake.
Funny you say that because we were talking about this like off air like before previously, and I proposed we should do a little piece on this and talk a little bit about this. And what I thought Dre's response meant was, let's do a whole fucking show on Metal Gear Solid. And I started researching Metal Gear Solid. Now, I think I've played 2 and some of 3. And that shit is deep.
Very confusing. I've only played like one of them, and I was with a friend a little bit, like over a summer.
I was
way back when.
Fucking lost. I loved it. Don't get me wrong.
So I'm glad we didn't do this segment on that.
But as soon as I started looking at the timelines and where the games, I was like, "Fuck this!"
It's honestly like they threw all the games in a timeline and just like turned a blender on and were like, "This is how we're gonna release them." 1 is actually 5, 5 is 3, 2 is 1.
Look, if Tarantino was gonna put games in a sequence, this is his version of it. You know what I mean? Okay, right. So there has been news on the Obi-Wan series, which has been in development hell for a long time.
So down for that. You and McGregor.
Yeah. The series will begin on January the 4th, and a report brings word that filming and part of the shoot will take place in Boston.
Of all places.
How interesting. I have no idea
not
what that
means. Not a place you'd like imagine modern architecture.
Yeah, well,
being like what I don't know what.
It doesn't say where in Boston.
They've got that bell. It's very old. It doesn't scream Star Wars.
It's in a galaxy far, far away, so who knows?
It doesn't scream Star Wars.
It could be anything. Well, okay, I'm gonna try and skip a few here because there is a lot to get through. There's one that I don't really want to talk about, which is the actress Letitia Wright, who plays Shuri, apparently made a tweet that got cancelled very quickly because it was not very savory. Let's not dive into that, but if anyone does want to, well, go for it.
But is it just you're getting rid of it because it's not politically correct? You don't want to talk about it, or I haven't heard of this.
Search it. I'm not going to go into this, but you can search it all you want. So Netflix Transformers. Do you know about these shows? It's something.
The Transformers.
It's been on my radar for a while. They have a show which is Transformers War for Cybertron. It's a trilogy. I don't know a huge amount about it. It's something that, like I say, it's been on my radar and I want to watch. But it's going to continue this month with Earthrise. It's an animated show. It looks incredible. Like some of the concept. Apparently, it takes it right back to what Transformers is.
What it used to be.
Because the stuff that Michael Bay did, the first one had.
I mean, the first one. I liked the first one.
Yeah, I think at the time I did. But if you watch it now, it's like beating yourself over the head with noise and like flashing lights. It's horrible.
I mean, it's Michael Bay. I'm sure.
It's disgusting. But so this is real fun. This can be real interesting. Now, 2 more pieces of news I've saved for this exact moment. And this one's been drip feeding out all week. So it started with the news that Dr. Octopus actor Alfred Molina has been confirmed to be
not only
in Spider-Man 3.
There was a bunch.
There has been so much. It started as a drop and now it's a lake. It's unbelievable. It looks like the old Spider-Man are coming back. It looks like Maguire and Garfield will be there. It also looks like Kirsten Dunst is going to be there and Emma Stone. In my personal thought, I think it's maybe too soon to do all this. I think it could lead to a bigger movie. Obviously, we don't know how it's going to go.
I just think they're obviously. Here's what my initial gut. This is partially how, like, tinfoil theory.
Go hit me.
This is partially how Sony and Marvel agreed to keep the Spider-Man thing in the MCU. Sony basically used this to be like, okay, well, like, fine, let us pump in all the other Spider-Man material, give that like another lifeblood. Okay. They're going to get more people going and watching these ones too, downloading it, whatever, IMDbing it, or Netflixing it, whatever it may be, because these guys are all going to be in this new movie. It's just going to give all their other IP with Spider-Man a big push. And they saw the Spider-Verse thing, how successful it was. They're like, oh, let's just rehash that while also bringing in all our other material that can also benefit from a new marketing push from Spider-Man. And I'm like, look, they'll probably make it good. It probably will be good because, like,
I'd hope so.
You know, it's the who's directing it? It's probably the guy that's done the other ones. Anyway,
I don't know.
It'll probably be good, but I feel like they're just kind of capitalizing on the success of Into the Spider-Verse, which is, like, to me a bit. What's the word I'm looking for? A bit lazy.
Do you know what? And I'm gonna go even more tinfoil than you are here. I honestly think it's gonna be a big ruse. Like,
you reckon? Yeah.
I don't think that. I would love it if it was like a big, like, joke. So what it is you expect all these people to show up in the film and they actually don't. Like, maybe 1 or 2 do. Maybe Jamie Foxx does, for example, because it's building towards a multiverse of madness and other stuff is going to come up, etc. Yeah. But I'd love it if, like, so for example, all this hype, all this build, everyone's confirmed, blah, blah, blah. And then it's the post-credit scene is just everyone's there being like, haha.
That would be funny.
Haha. I would fucking love that. Now, one other thing that I have to call out in relation to this is that it has been announced. Has it been announced? Well, #Save Daredevil has returned. And the rumor now is that Charlie Cox is going to make an appearance in the movie as well. So you would assume that would be as Matt Murdock as the lawyer rather than necessarily Daredevil being Daredevil. And I would bloody love that. My personal opinion, and this is a thing I've had bandied around a lot, is that a lot of people think perhaps these aren't necessarily the exact versions that you would see from those movies. So, for example, maybe the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man aren't exactly the same. Because if you think about it, Emma Stone's dead in those movies. You couldn't just like bring her back from the dead. So
she?
Yeah, she died in the second one.
I forget.
They rehashed a classic Spider-Man comic where the death of Gwen Stacy. Anyway.
Oh, I forgot. I don't think I ever even finished the second one.
Terrible movie. Yeah. Anyway, long story short, I would like it if they were playing not the same, but very slight variations of those characters. Maybe from a slightly different universe where things went slightly differently so that they can be brought in. So like this Charlie Cox, for example, version, he in the Netflix show, he's obviously brutal, right? He kicks the shit out of everyone. Maybe a slightly toned down version so he could work with Disney. I would love to see that. That'd
be great.
And that's the big Marvel news for the week. Now,
well, there's more, but we won't.
That's a big Marvel news for last week. And but the big one that I wanted to keep to the end and I actually have a really quick discussion with you on is that did you hear that this week HBO Max has announced that a bunch of movies are coming directly to the streaming service? So it kicked off.
I did see that. I didn't see which ones, but I did see that. It
kicked off at the beginning of the week with the news.
Like all the DC stuff, right?
All the DC stuff. So the big one that kicked off first was Wonder Woman 84. It was announced that the movie will be coming out. I think we might have even talked about this last week. It was coming out at Christmas in cinemas, but it will be going to streaming service at the same time. And then they came out with an absolute bloody, like, it was rains and pours. It was crazy. So Godzilla vs. Kong, The Suicide Squad, The Conjuring, Dune, Matrix 4,
Dune,
Little Things.
I'm going to buy it now.
Mortal Kombat, Space Jam 2. We're going to talk about that later on.
That's coming up.
We're going to talk about that too. And there is an absolute, there's so many more. So these are going to get cinema and HBO releases at the same time. But it's in reaction to the fact that people can't go to cinemas, right? And they need to get this out there. They need to get people on the streaming
also,
services.
like, it's like huge for HBO. Like, HBO, amazing. By the way, standalone without this stuff is worth being one of the three. If you like, there's like a study that says like everybody can only really afford mentally 3 of the streaming services.
Yeah,
like, there's been a study that's like after that they get annoyed, consumers.
Yep.
I might be able to push that to 4, but because I know what I used to pay for my cable package, and it's still like so cheap compared to that. But anyway, this is like their push to, like, it should already have been in your 3, I would argue. And this is like HBO's, like, if you're going to pick 3.
Well, I'm actually concerned.
This is definitely,
I'm actually concerned because I don't think Wonder Woman will come out on streaming over here. I think it'll just be in cinemas. Now, I'm fine with that. I will go to cinemas. I will go to cinemas and watch it.
Get a VPN.
Get a VPN. Well, wait, do you have HBO from back home?
I have Express VPN plug. Sponsored.
Plug.
They're not sponsoring us.
They're not. I wish they would.
That'd be great.
Do you guys want to give us a sponsor
anyway,
for all of our
use that, and that gives me like US Netflix if I want, or
I might just steal
HBO
it off you.
well.
I might just steal it off you.
Yeah.
Well, the HBO thing's the one I'd really want to be involved in. Anyway, no, that's amazing and incredible news, especially I think for the States. I think the States and UK, it's not going so great over there in terms of this global pandemic. They have started rolling out some vaccines in the UK, which is great news. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. Wonder Woman 84, thoughts? Excited? Not excited. There were some very initial screenings that happened this week, and some reviews started to come in. Like, it's very vague. You're not allowed to say too much. It's obviously not 100% well, I mean, it must be 100% complete, but a lot of the reviews were that this is not only a perfect continuation of the story and the character, that at the same time, it is also an incredible film. So I'm pumped for it.
Yeah.
And I bloody love, I think you pronounce it Gal Gadot. I think that's how you pronounce it. No, seriously, like I've listened to interviews.
Worked really hard for
she
this.
Literally, no one pronounced her name right. She's been in Hollywood for years. Like, do you know she was in, I think it was a Fast and the Furious 2.
Really?
She's been around a while.
She just finally got her
this was her big... But I love her, man. She's great. And she's such a character. Like, I actually follow her on Instagram. I mean, like, why wouldn't you? She's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's just fucking funny. I literally find myself, like, chuckling at us. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. So, moving from movies that have been confirmed coming out, we are now going to move on to our main topic of the week very smoothly. Dre, do you want to premise this?
Yeah, so basically the main topic of the week this week is we're actually copping off. Do I even want to like cite the site?
Yeah, why not?
So IGN did something where they were
it's a year or so ago.
Yeah, it was like 33 movies that didn't get made this decade that we want to have been made. Is that like a wordy way of saying it?
Well, I've tweaked the title a bit. It's 33 movies that were supposed to come out in the 2010s, but didn't.
Yeah. So this last decade, a bunch of movies that were like slated to come out or had gotten pretty far into progression of production.
Yeah.
And or about to be produced and then didn't. And since then, there's been some changes to this list because some of these have actually been
This is
a good list.
This list is about a year old, like I say, but I am excited to talk about it because there's some real fun stuff on here. Now, just gonna premise this way up top. When they say 33, they've been a bit sneaky with that because one of the movies that's going to come up is Avatars 2, 3, 4, and 5. So they're all counted within that 33. It's not just saying Avatar sequels.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things, we've cut out a couple that don't really fit with the tone of the show. And what I've then gone and done is I've actually gone through the list to make this a little bit easier to talk about. And I've bucketed it into 4 buckets.
Let's hear them.
You know I love a bucket. Oh, wait, we never did the main topic theme. Why would main topic?
Oh yeah, that's
true. Well, you should do a theme. Go on, hit me with that.
4 bucket theme.
4 bucket theme. All right, so the 4 buckets are movies which actually got made. So ones that were supposed to come out all the way through the 2010s.
That one was really hard to think about
got made.
And come up with that bucket.
Well, I actually named it made it out of development hell. So I quite enjoyed that. Slated for upcoming release. So these are movies which have now made out of development hell and essentially are getting released at some point over the next year, 2 years, etc.
Yep.
Then we've got stuck in development hell, which is movies which is movies which may still get made but don't have any dates on them and are still sort of just in the ether a little bit. And then there are ones that I've named lost to wishful thinking, which are pretty much just dead in the ground.
To wishful thinking.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't wish a lot of them got made, so that's me being very nice to these movies. There's a couple of them on there that are good, but they're not that good.
There's one that stood out to me that I was like, I'd be down. It might be shitty, but I'd be down.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's jump straight in then. So, the ones that have been made and are now real things and have made out of development hell. So I'm going to spin through these pretty fast. I don't think there's a lot to talk about. Bad Boys 4, Bad Boys 3, Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys for Life.
Bad Boys.
Best thing to come out of that, don't hate the player, hate the game.
Oh my God.
Is that already a thing, though?
One, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Bill and Ted Face the Music, Bill and Ted 3, and New Mutants. So, to be perfectly honest with you, the one out of them, which we probably should have seen for this show, New Mutants, is the one that I was least interested in seeing out of all of them.
Well, it's like, you know what the New Mutants thing is? It's basically like the Fantastic Four all over again, except hopefully it won't be as bad of a movie. Like,
it's out. You can watch it. It's on Apple TV.
Is it already out?
It's on Apple.
Well, there you go. Like, where was the marketing push for this thing?
Well, okay.
Yeah,
so
like,
I'll give you the very brief overview of that. And part of the reason I'm not that bothered about it is this was the very last throes of the Fox X-Men era, right? So like the very dregs when it was pretty much already announced that Disney were buying Fox, etc., etc. And this was one of the very final movies, and it was pretty much complete when the deal was completed to buy Fox.
Yeah.
And it sounds like one of the stipulations of that deal was that Disney have to put this film out, along with what was the last X-Men one that came out? It was Dark Phoenix, the one that
wasn't
rushed.
that good.
Dark Phoenix. Yeah. I haven't seen it. Don't go. And this was one that kind of just got shoved to the back. And what happened was it got delayed and it got delayed and it got delayed. And my assumption is, like I say, that they had this stipulation where they had to put it out. COVID rolled around. It was like, well, they asked us to put it in cinemas, so it's in cinemas. You know when you and me went to go and see Tenet?
We saw that preview for it.
We went to see Tenet.
Yeah.
It was in cinemas then.
And we also
didn't realize.
Fair enough. That's crazy. I didn't know that it was in cinemas. It's funny because it's like that era, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but that era, all those movies that got caught in that drag era of Fox and Disney, Dark Phoenix, that one, all had like people that were actually like peaking.
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, we got our superhero character. We're like, this is how you've hit the peak. The guy from Stranger Things is in New Mutants. Like,
Arya Stark was in there. Yeah. She's in there as well.
Yeah, it's like Sansa, whatever her name is.
No, it was Arya.
No, but Sansa is in Dark Phoenix.
They basically just cast the Game of Thrones
It was
guys.
like all those peak shows that were at that moment. You're like, oh, their next big thing is they're going to get their superhero gig. And they got it. Just not in the way.
I'm going to be honest with you. I like Maisie Williams a lot. I think she's a very good actress.
Yeah.
But when you talk to me about Sophie Turner, the one who plays Sansa, I do not... Like, Game of Thrones, she was fine.
We'll see if she has range.
I would love to... Yeah,
we'll see.
What I'm trying to say is, with what she's had in terms of the X-Men movies, for me, it didn't work. I'd like to see her in other movies where she can maybe get a bit teeth into it a little bit more.
Remains to be seen if she's a good actress. She is Sansa Stark. She's pulled that off.
Doesn't make her a good actress. Yeah,
she
was the Stark that I had the least interest in, and not
that's just because of who she is.
No, it was because of her acting.
I don't think so. I think Sansa Stark is like the most annoying Stark to deal with for like most of the books as well. Like no one flips to the Sansa Stark page and is like, oh yes, get to read another 30 pages of this. They're like, oh, let's get to Jon Snow. Or like they try and get Tyrion and get through it.
Well, I liked her progression through the show though. I loved where she ended up and how she was this badass. But I think her acting style was too soft for me. I think she could have been more ruthless.
More ruthless, man. She fucking fed the guy to his.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. I think if she'd have channeled that,
they just ate him up. Face,
balls, for Game of Thrones. Okay,
thing.
Right. We're spending way too much time on New Mutants.
Jesus Christ.
Which of those would you like to see? Those three movies.
My arms asleep. Oh. So which ones would I like? Sorry,
Bad Boys for Life, Bill and Ted, New Mutants. If you had to keep one, you had to see it immediately, what would you see?
Probably Bad Boys.
I've seen it. It's long.
It's probably long and like not great, but I love Will Smith and I love the other guy. It would be so retro. Like I just don't care to see Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. We
need to move on from this. But I'm going to give you my one takeaway from that movie, and it's really obvious, but you can really tell how old those guys are in that movie.
Been on the Hennessy quite a bit for too long. Too much Hennessy.
It's great.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, I enjoyed the first two movies when I was younger. If I'd have seen this 10 years ago when it should have come out, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Same. Yeah, I just don't really care to see Dark Phoenix and their mutants. So.
You mean Bill and Ted?
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, well, probably the one I'd probably rather see is Bill and Ted, just because it's a bit of an enigma to me, and I would quite like to see it. And that's out as well. It's on streaming too. Anyway,
fair call.
we're not pumping streaming services or VPNs.
Let's go.
We don't. Okay, so slated for upcoming release. So ones which have made out of development hell and are likely to be coming out within the next few years. So first and foremost, we have Avatar 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, James Cameron. So I think he is. He's in this upper echelon of directors whereby...
Up there with Oprah. You get an Avatar. You get an Avatar. You get a sequel. You get a sequel. Fucking hell, mate.
Well, he's up there
2, 3, 4, and 5. Can you just get 2 out?
Yeah, well,
just get 2 out.
That's meant to come out next year.
Dude, these people must be like 2 decades older.
Yeah.
Than when the first movie was made.
Well, there's going to be people watching 2 who don't even know what 1 is.
Yeah. It's absurd.
Just having a sip of water there. It's
go
pretty hot
ahead.
in here. So, okay, anyway, I don't care. But he is in this upper echelon of directors with your Nolans, with your Spielbergs, who can get away with whatever they want.
More Spielberg than Nolan.
That's what I'm saying.
But, yeah.
But I think Nolan's getting there. I think
I would give Nolan more credit. He's more creatively unique.
I'm not saying he's
I would
not,
say
but a Spielberg
Cameron.
and a Cameron were in their time, and that's why they're in that echelon.
Yeah.
Next, Black Widow. We've talked about it to death.
Yeah.
I'm still excited for this movie. It's got Taskmaster in it, the dude who...
Scarlett Johansson, bro, I'm in.
Yeah, she's great. And also, we talked about the other characters before. Yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be a good movie. The next one, this is a little bit of a piss take for me. It just says most of the DCEU. So that's the Flash movie, Man of Steel 2, Justice League 2.
And most of the DCEU.
Yeah, so the reason I put this in slated for coming release is because I think since they've done that twist to HBO Max and they've got the Snyder stuff coming out, I think more of the stuff will get traction. I think they'll think, oh, well, there's that much fan like for it. If it gets them half the money they want, they'll be like,
who knows?
Do it.
Who knows with the DCU? Maybe they'll just greenlight it all, or maybe they'll just create a whole new DCEU. Like, that's my point.
Well, they're focusing on individual stories now. That's what they're doing. Like, so you've got the Batman, etc., etc. And I'm excited. Like, I would love to see, I don't care about the Flash, a Man of Steel 2 movie.
Yeah.
I feel like The Flash. I
feel
hate
like the Man of Steel 2 should have been made. You know,
Yeah,
that
should have been made before Dawn of Justice.
Anyway, so are you asking us to pick 3 here?
No, we're not even done yet.
Oh, okay.
So slated for upcoming release still has The Last of Us. Obviously, that's going to be a TV show. We talked about this last week. That's going to be on HBO. James Bond, No Time to Die, Bond 25. That's coming out next year, probably. Space Jam 2. We just touched on it. It's coming to HBO Max.
Dude. Yeah, I remember.
Excited to see Bronny?
I remember when we were like rumored to sign. I'm a Lakers fan, obviously, bro.
Yeah.
Born and raised in LA at peak Kobe. Like, of course, I'm a Lakers fan.
I'm actually a Lakers fan too.
In any case, I remember when we were like, there was rumors we were going to sign him. He was like out there filming Space Jam 2. I was like, we're definitely going to sign him.
I thought he filmed it when he was in the bubble. That's what I thought it was. I thought it made it easiest for him to film it.
He filmed it like either like it started right before we signed him. So his first year of his contract, which would have been like 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then like during the off season after his first year.
Yeah.
And there was all this like chat about how like, because we still did bad when he first came, he got injured and he was just like, there was all this chat like, oh, he doesn't care about basketball anymore. He's just playing Space Jam 2, like whatever.
Look, I think that's gonna be fun. It's apparently not following the same beats as the first movie, which a sequel shouldn't. I love that. That's good. It's gonna go a slightly different direction. It's gonna be him going to try and save his son, Bronny
Jr.'s in it.
I'm not sure.
He's like a draft. He's going to be in the NBA too.
So I think he has to go through different movies to try and save his son. Okay. I think that's the premise. Anyway, could be interesting. And the final one is Uncharted, which we also talked about recently, which has Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. I'm actually quite excited for that. So now, let me just ask you, I'm only going to ask for one. Which of these are you most excited to see? You've got the Avatar sequels, you've got Black Widow, you've got anything in the DCU that isn't out. We've got The Last of Us, we've got No Time to Die, we've got Space Jam 2, and we've got Uncharted. That's a tough roster.
I'd say DC's out. It'd probably be between Uncharted. What was the last one you said before that?
Space Jam 2. No Time to Die, Last of Us.
Those are the 3 for me. And I feel like I'm very attracted to the like dystopian world scenario.
Sure.
So I think I'm going to go The Last of Us.
Last of Us.
Yeah.
And it's HBO too.
I know they're going to get there's some like ace castings done and a good like that's just what HBO does.
Look, I'm a Brit, so I've got to give Bond a pump in there. But Daniel Craig doesn't give a shit about Innis
That's
anymore.
the thing, though. You know he doesn't want to do it.
You go do you, mate. Yeah. Like, just be happy with all your millions. So I'm currently stuck between Black Widow and The Last of Us.
Yeah.
The reason I say Black Widow is because not only do I think it's going to be great and finally having a proper, having one of the OGs heading her own, like one of the OG females in the MCU heading her own movie, thank Christ.
Yeah.
I also think it's going to open a lot of doors for the rest of the MCU. So I'm just excited for that to get out there so we can get the rest of that content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's fair.
So yeah,
because it's been hanging off of that. Fair enough.
All of those. Last of Us 2 should be incredible.
I think The Last of Us is. I think HBO is going to kill it.
That film, that game, sorry, is unreal.
Don't ruin it. No spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I think I already have. Anyway, okay, cool. So now we're gonna go stuck into development hell. So we're gonna maybe talk a little bit more about each of these and just go into a little bit more detail, just because I think it's interesting and some of the reasons they're in development hell are actually pretty fun. So I'll run you through the movies super quick, and then I'll talk you through a couple of the ones that I think I find interesting. I think you'll find interesting too. So first and foremost, Beetlejuice 2. We then have Disenchanted. We have The Division, based on the video game. We have Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat, which is a mouthful.
Yeah, that needs a new name.
That's the Edge of Tomorrow 2, which is a Tom Cruise movie, and then the last one is Triplets. I should have made this up top. I've actually removed a few from this list because they didn't really fit with the sort of tone of the show. Okay, cool. So let me just give you a little bit of an insight into a few of these that I think you might be interested in. Now, I'm going to talk about this one because I kind of grew up with this movie and think it's great, and I love Michael Keaton. So Beetlejuice 2.
Yeah.
So obviously the first one was directed by Tim Burton. Everyone knows Tim Burton's. He is his own man.
Such a Tim Burton movie as well.
Yes, like, this was one of his OGs.
No one else could have. Yeah.
So great. So he did claim in 2014 that the sequel was closer than ever. It was suggested it could start filming in 2015 with Winona Ryder confirmed for the sequel, and essentially everyone was confirmed. I'm saying with inverted commas. But it's one of those that is in development hell, and you couldn't nail a lot of the people down. Obviously, Michael Keaton.
Winona Ryder was in that.
Yeah, she's incredible. But earlier in 2020, Burton did say he had his doubts over whether the sequel would ever get made. He has gone from being super positive to being one day. So it's in development hell. What did you watch this movie, Beetlejuice?
I mean, like I did
growing up.
Do I remember it? No, I know I saw it.
It was kind of weird.
It was super weird. I was like, this is kind of weird for me.
But I like that. I was very young when I saw it.
Kid, so yes, it's kind of like scary. I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was kind of scary. It was kind of weird, but I kind of like that. This was one of the movies that really left an impression on me growing up. Okay. I was probably too young to watch it when I watched it, but I kind of enjoyed it. It was weird, and it was good weird. And I think a lot of the best things are these days. So yeah, that's Beetlejuice 2. The next one on the list was Disenchanted. I couldn't care any less about this movie.
I had to like look up Enchanted.
Same.
Let's just move on.
Don't care. The next one was Division. Now this was one. So I actually really wanted to play this game when it came out, but for one reason or another didn't get around to it. So it's set in a near future New York City. Guess what? It's in the aftermath of a viral pandemic.
Get ready, guys.
Yeah. So the main character, or the player in this case, a special agent from Strategic Homeland Division, he's tasked, he or she, depending which way you want to go with the movie, is tasked with helping the group rebuild its operations in Manhattan and investigating the nature of the outbreak.
Yeah.
Now,
rumored to have Jake Gyllenhaal interested back in
2017, correct. So this was originally proposed in 2010. And it has been in development hell for the entire time. Now, I think this could be awesome.
I haven't played the game, really want to. In fact, might be the next game I play. I haven't played a good shooter in a while.
Could be.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about this one movie...
Is it on every console? Sorry. I'm just going to have a look.
No, it's all right. The interesting thing about this one is that, though it is like long gestating, it is the only one on this list that was swooped up by Netflix. Netflix is... It's in production with Netflix.
It'll get made then. Netflix makes like everything.
So. They make fucking everything.
Yeah. So can you play this? Is it a PlayStation exclusive?
I think so. I think it's a PlayStation exclusive. No, I don't think it's exclusive. I think you probably get an Xbox, but it looks incredible. I'd play it. Let me know how it
got really good reviews. Anyway, this one, just because of who was involved in it, I was like, oh, Jake Gyllenhaal must
Jakey boy.
Be good.
I think Jake's all right. Like I don't see him as an action star.
Because he's never does something so like one dimensional as that. Every movie he has some kind of psychological element. I'd say the closest thing he's been into like an action movie is that one where he's a cop. And it's also got Hugh Jackman. It's really good. It's a thriller. You're talking
about the right celebrity this time? I know you're very good at talking about different celebrities. You know, when you've got one name in your head, but it's actually talking about someone else.
I am talking about the right one. Hugh Jackman. Here, I'll find it right now. It's on Netflix.
You have a look through, but I would be super pumped to play this. When it came out, the game was...
Prisoners. There it is.
Prisoners. I've never
seen.
Oh, I remember.
It's kind of action, but it's not like a pure action movie.
Yeah, the game got mixed reviews when it came out, but I think the premise... And with the right writing team, this could really be an awesome TV show.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then there's Gambit. I don't even know if I said Gambit before, but Gambit is on this list of films been in development hell. I put it in here. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this probably is going to go down as one that doesn't come out. I think it probably should be in the bottom one. I'm kind of holding out a little bit of hope, mainly based off my love for the animated X-Men TV show from the 90s. I used to fucking love that show. Did you ever watch it?
Yeah.
Growing up?
Gambit was in it. Look, I think that Channing Tatum, who was like really like apparently was really tied to this the whole time.
He was the one who was pushing for this.
Yeah. He was at one point thinking he wanted to direct or something, which I don't think they should do. But point being, I don't really see. I could see him as it, but I'm also like, you're too yoked. Like you're too.
He'd need to.
Big.
I think he would need.
Like, isn't that not a part of the guy?
But he's very good at. He goes up and down. I think.
Anyway, but like I could see him pulling it off, but I could also see like if you don't slim down, it's kind of a weird.
Well, the character did appear. The character Gambit did appear in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
Which obviously critically panned. The character was a cameo, effectively.
He
wasn't played by Channing Tatum. So the expectation is that this probably won't come out, but I'm still holding a little candle. Well, anyway, so the next one is Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat. The Edge of Tomorrow sequel. So this, apparently it's got a script, it's ready to go. It was apparently ready 2019. But I think part of the big problem with this is getting Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt in the same room. I mean, why would you want to be?
Like each other?
Why would you? No, I just mean like they're such busy actors. But why would you want to be in the same room as Tom Cruise? The man's fucking crazy. He's nuts. He'd want to do all his own stunts. He'd probably try and kill himself at least 4 times.
What is the thing with like Edge of Tomorrow / Live, Die, Repeat? Was one of them the video game?
No.
Or one of them was the Japanese.
Kind of. So I think it was a manga. It was. Live Die Repeat was the original name, and for some reason they updated the name to Edge of Tomorrow. It's a way worse name, and it makes no sense. Live Die Repeat makes way more sense in terms of that movie.
But like, there's like images, I'm looking at it right now with like both of those in marketing material.
Yeah,
so I'm like wondering when they changed it. Like...
So it was originally marketed as Edge of Tomorrow.
Okay.
And then because that didn't get a lot of traction and no one realized the connection between it and its original form, they started to, almost like a tagline for the movie became like Live, Die, Repeat. And then that almost took over. But the movie was still called Edge of Tomorrow. But then you can still find it on some streaming services called as Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah, there you go. It's kind of weird.
Fuck knows. They really bollocks that up. But I actually really liked that movie when it came out.
No, it was good.
Like, honestly, like, I
get up, maggot.
Yeah, and it's one of those where, right, so that premise can get real boring real fast, but they made it so that
they did well with it.
Yeah, it's like what we talked about with the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse the other week. Like, it was a premise that they could have easily just played, but they gave you enough spins on it and they made it fresh enough each time they did it that I was like, the time when he got run over by the truck, I was like, ooh.
I forget it, but I remember I thought the same thing. I was like, this could have been hard to make, but they've done well. And then there's actually a scene in, I'm going really random here, the Haunting of Bly Manor in like episode 6, which I haven't finished yet, the series. But there's one where it does that repeat thing and they don't do it as well. And I actually enjoyed it because I think I could, but like to the casual viewer, like my girlfriend, she was like, can we just like seen the same scene 7 times? Can we fucking move on?
Well, did you know there's that Netflix show Russian Doll?
Yes. I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
I have forgotten her name. One of the girls who is in American Pie. I watched the first episode and I just knew the premise. I could tell the premise, and I was already bored of it. I was like, she's dying at each one of these, and she's coming back to the party. So the next one on the list is Portal / Half-Life 2. So in 2013, again, famous video game franchises, which we didn't talk about when we talked about video games franchises, but these are
like a lot of these are bleeding over from last week.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. It's really interesting.
There's no way that movie gets made. Valve, they won't even make a sequel for the game.
Half-Life, I can imagine be made into a movie.
I mean, I can imagine it'd be a good movie, but they're barely, like, they have fans that want more Half-Life games. And
they just released a VR game.
And Valve was like, fuck off. Like, it took them
They just released a VR game.
Yeah, but it took them like 2 decades.
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Like, they're going to make a movie?
Those guys. They're like, well, I mean, it wouldn't be them writing it, would it? They would have to give the rights to someone else. But, well, interesting to say that. In 2013, J.J. Abrams announced that him and his partner, Gabe Newell, would be partnering to make movies based on video games. And 2 of those included were adaptations of Portal and Half-Life. So J.J. Abrams, that's an interesting choice.
I'd be good at it.
He's got some lens flare. Yeah. He loves a solid white line across the middle of your screen.
Yeah, he's good. For all my complaints about him, at the end of the day, I still like his movies.
I like his movies. I even liked the final Star Wars one, even though it's really derivative and forgot everything.
I mean, but he had to, because like they kind of had to, because there was
a lot of pressure on him.
There was no one in the tower set the control tower for that series, so he had to restart the story kind of. Anyway, I like the first and the second Star Wars more than, or the first and the third more than the second. I still have some beef with Abrams.
7 and 8.
Sorry, you know what I mean though, of the new trilogy. Yes. I still have beef with Abrams for how Lost ended though, so like I'll never lose that. I'm mad beef.
Yeah, Lost.
Fuck was the polar bear doing there, JJ?
I never got into Lost.
Just threw it in to confuse everyone.
I obviously know the ending of Lost. It's everywhere. But my buddy in uni, like Mark, he was obsessed with it and would watch it all the time. And I was like, yeah, I'll watch it eventually. And I'm so fucking glad I didn't. Like,
well, it's still, to be fair,
it's like Game of Thrones.
It's still a really great show, and you should watch it. But like, it's not as bad as Game of Thrones, though, in the sense that like they threw so many loose ends in there that just never got addressed.
Did you have any big shows that you were like really like into in university that sort of were like they kind of encapsulate that time for you?
Honestly, Game of Thrones started in uni for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think we saw like the first 3 or 4 seasons, like the best stuff.
I didn't get into Thrones till 4th season.
Yeah, the best stuff was like going on when I was in uni.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, mine was Scrubs.
Scrubs is great. Scrubs is great. Dude, I think I rewatched Scrubs in Fans. Or in Friends in uni as well.
That's 6. I haven't watched Scrubs in about, I'd probably say nearing 10 years. And I'm at the point now, I'm like,
Apple TV?
I think I could rewatch it now and still enjoy it, you know?
I'm at that kind One time I was at a Dodger game, and I don't know who the actor's name to this day is, but the guy that plays Turk.
Oh yeah, Donald Faison.
Yeah, that guy.
I really like him.
I turn a corner with like a hot dog and like mustard, and I almost run into him. Like, oh my god! And I like realize it's him. Like, Turk, and he he just looks at me, just laughs, like, smirks, and just keeps walking. Doesn't even acknowledge.
You should have just screamed "Eagle" at him from behind. And he went, "Eagle, Eagle." That would have been good. See if he runs back and picks you up.
That would have been good. I was just too shell shocked. But good.
You know what? I've never had any real close contact with a celebrity. Not that I care. I actually don't give a shit.
It's not really that cool.
No,
I've had a few, but
I don't care. Like, it's nonsense. I don't think I'd get shell shocked by a celebrity unless it was like...
It was just like in my face suddenly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
And I was also like peak Scrubs fan, like high school at that point. So I probably didn't handle it as I would today.
At the Dodgers game, so the most boring of the sports.
Oh, come on. At that point, we were really boring.
Well, anyway, so jumping back into Portal and Heartlife, in 2016, Abrams confirmed that both movies are still in development with writers, but we have heard nothing since. So we expect that that's still in development in hell. We don't know. And the last one on the list, which I personally couldn't give two shits about, but you might, is Triplets. So Triplets is, did you ever see Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
So it was essentially whatever. This is essentially a sequel to that movie, but I think it had Eddie Murphy built in as the third brother. I have no idea. Honestly, I never saw the first. I don't remember.
Is this like an 80s movie? Like how
90s movie. I don't remember enjoying the first one, even though it's a bit of a cult classic. So I don't really care. But
I bet it'd be funny. But
I think there's moments. I think it has some
moments.
On my list. All right then. So tell me then, of these movies, which do you wish?
1988.
There you go. Which do you wish would get pulled out of development hell? So you had Beetlejuice 2, Disenchanted, The Division, Gambit, Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat. Portland Half-Life, Triplets, and I can't remember if I said Gambit.
I would say probably The Division.
Great choice, yeah.
I would say The Division, or you know what? If Triplets came out, just humor me. If Triplets came out and Dave Chappelle was the third triplet,
I think that's the point. I think they'll have to be the same age.
I would buy high.
I think they'll have to be the same age
because Dave Chappelle's pretty young.
He's way young.
If you could somehow get Dave Chappelle into that film, I'd be down.
I mean, Dave Chappelle in most things would sell me on it, so who knows?
I don't know why that popped in my head, but anyway, probably Triplets, yeah. Or probably The Gambit. Or, what am I saying?
Oh my god, you said The
Division. The Division.
I'm stuck between The Division and Live, Die, Repeat, and Repeat. Because I genuinely did really enjoy that movie, and I think some of the concepts were great. Too.
I enjoyed it too, but I wonder if it would age well the second time, and also like too much of Tom Cruise eventually get over it, right?
Yeah. Well, if The Division with Netflix, it could still happen. So fingers crossed anyway.
Yeah.
Good choices, I think. I would like to see that movie as well. So the next one is probably my favorite, and I've just named it Lost to Wishful Thinking, which means essentially these movies are dead in the water. Yeah, we're never going to see them. There's a few I'm going to skip over because I don't
because you can
think you'll care.
Because you can.
Because we can. This is our show.
Our time.
We are dedicated to our craft, but we will definitely skip over some crap movies. Okay, so the first one is Neil Blomkamp's Alien. Now, you know Neil Blomkamp from District 9 and Chappie.
Great movie, District 9.
Fucking incredible movie. And it's, so poignant as well. Yeah. Like some of the themes in that, really interesting. And I was pumped for District 10. That's stuck in development hell as well.
Yeah. That could be another one that we talk to in another podcast. Maybe. Underrated sci-fi movies. District 9
absolutely.
Would be on that for sure.
Put it on the list. Let's do that. We do that a lot in these episodes, in these podcasts where we just sort of say like, let's do this. And then we'll get around to it eventually. Well, if anyone has any recommendations, please email in. Dre will be telling you the email address at the end of the show. So he was in line to do his version of Alien. Now, I've watched a bunch of interviews with Neil Blomkamp, and he is obsessed with Alien. He is like, it's his favorite movie. He loves it. He kind of fell off the radar a little bit. He's done a few things. He's kind of doing his own stuff right now. He's doing a few passion projects, but essentially Ridley Scott killed this movie by making Alien Covenant. So he was super pumped. He was guaranteed is the wrong word. He was confirmed to be in the movie.
Well, he posted on Instagram.
He did.
I remember.
But then Ridley Scott came and decided he wanted to make Covenant, and that essentially killed it up. And I would have been really pumped for that because some of the elements in, especially what we talked about District 9, the horror elements in that, I think work really well. I'm not sure about the claustrophobic side of things, but if he's that much of a student of those original movies, you'd think he'd want to bring it back to the core, you know?
Yeah.
I think the problem for me with Prometheus and, like you say, Covenant is that they lose all of that constricted nature.
I think the problem for me with like this whole franchise is it's like it's been done. What else are you going to bring to the alien lore? Yeah. Do something new.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's almost
that's
like
what they tried.
That's
what they tried to do with Prometheus and Covenant, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, but like that probably shows that they just need to do something different.
I'm gonna just randomly go on a side here now. Do you remember a game called Dead Space?
I do. Actually, it's in my to play thing. I had that game. I just haven't started playing.
Well, that was one that almost came up last week. I nearly had that down last week, but I didn't know enough about it, and my brother played it.
Yeah.
My brother played it. I think 2 of them. There's 3, and
it's
I think
it's very Resident Evil, but alien.
Yeah,
I think I would like it. I just haven't gotten around to playing it.
I can imagine. So similar theme, right? So it's very constricted. It's very claustrophobic. You've got the horror elements. Like you're always like running out of ammo. You're never sure like what's around the next corner. It's got that vibe to it, and I'd love to see Blomkamp do that instead. Why not? Yeah. I think this got picked up by Netflix at one point, but like, dude, like
that's what I'm saying. Use original IP. There's so much out there. Yeah, and most of it actually these days is coming from video games. That's why it's like surpassing like film as a medium. For
absolutely.
Sure.
Well, I do think this Alien film would have been phenomenal because, like I say, it's his passion project. He would have loved to have done it. But if he had to go and do a different one, you couldn't do much worse than Dead Space. Like that's a great IP, like you say. Okay, the next one on this list is At the Mountains. Now, I know you sort of glanced at this before.
Yeah.
I've looked a little bit. It was originally a Guillermo del Toro helmed movie, and it's based on a book, right?
Yeah, it's based on like I don't know if it's a book or a short story. Let me have a quick look. But it's basically a novella, so in between a short story and a book. It's a Lovecraft novella, written way back in the 30s. Really about a kind of disastrous expedition to the Antarctic continent, which apparently a lot of people did back in the day because there was some real there was this like it's almost like the golden city of El Salvador, right? There was these like mythical rumors about the Northwest Passage, which kind of does exist, right? But would connect Europe to through Canada. Above Canada for trade routes and stuff to get to the other side of the world real quick. So like there was all these like financed expeditions back in the day to go try and find the way through, but there's just all these crazy icebergs that are always moving. It's really not the best way to get across the continent or the globe, I should say. And this is about one that failed, and they discover a supernatural kind of alien being.
So it's got sci-fi. The original sci-fi element. Yeah, that's really interesting. From the 30s as well. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's written from the first-person perspective of a geologist that was on the expedition. Very similar to a book called The Terror, which actually is in this bookshelf right here as well. It's quite a good book. It by the end you're like, all right, hurry up.
I get it.
But like, it was a good book. I enjoyed it. And it's also been made into a Amazon Prime series.
Okay. Yeah. Well, look, we talked about Guillermo. I'll never say his name right. We talked about Del Toro last week, and I think his horror background is just incredible, right? So he could have done this mad justice, but he himself essentially said that Ridley Scott's Prometheus essentially is to be thanked for this never getting made.
I don't understand.
Apparently, they were too similar.
I don't understand how that is how he puts himself on the same like level as that movie though. Like obviously, what he makes is going to be way better than that.
Yeah, of course.
But you think about one set in the 1930s, one is like...
Well, not necessarily. He might have bumped it up to the present. Fair enough. And also, you might have... we talked before about directors' standings in Hollywood, and I actually think Ridley Scott is one of those who's pretty high up. Now, don't get me wrong, these recent Alien movies haven't helped, but he's got a pretty good standing in Hollywood. Not that Guillermo del Toro doesn't, but like some...
It's not as artistically...
He's a little bit like Villeneuve, the dude who did Blade Runner. The new Blade Runner movie.
That was a good one.
Doing Dune.
I like that one.
Yeah, no, me too. They're great. The problem is he makes phenomenal movies that are beautiful and very well acted and well written. No one goes to fucking see them.
That's a problem.
And I think that's the same with that's the same with Del Toro. No one saw that weird one about having sex with fish, even though it won all the awards. It's like, who gives a fuck?
It's fucking weird movie.
Such a weird movie.
I saw it on a plane.
Did you?
On quite a bit of Xanax.
Jesus.
And it was a fucking weird experience.
Kids, stay away from Xanax.
In any case.
Yeah, well, this one never got made because essentially of Ridley Scott. again. Next one on the list is The Bride of Frankenstein. So this was originally going to star Angelina Jolie, and it was going to be part of the Dark Universe, which obviously Tom Cruise did the Mummy movie, where they remade the Mummy and Tom Cruise was in it. So they were trying to build this dark universe where they'd have like Frankenstein's monster and Dracula and blah, blah, blah. They've tried so many times with this fucking universe, but it's not going to work, basically. So that was the schedule for that movie. Didn't really care at the time, still don't now. That's a really bad thing. I shouldn't be saying that about movies, but it's essentially not a movie that I would have been pumped to go and see in the cinema is what I'm trying to say. I don't not care.
I love the original Mummies and stuff. Honestly, a dark universe, you could do that if you did it right.
The problem is those movies
they're not connected well, though.
The problem is those movies, the originals were made for a time when that stuff kind of felt like it could be real, whereas now everyone's like, no, it's bullshit. Don't care.
I think you'd have to do some universe building. You couldn't just like throw a bunch of blockbusters together and make it work.
So apparently in that first Mummy movie with Tom Cruise I didn't see, they put in a bunch of like references. Like there was a vampire skull, and the doctor was...
You need more than that.
Yeah.
You need more than that. You need like characters that have their own stories that develop.
And Russell Crowe character was...
And then eventually they all come
Dr.
together.
Jekyll.
Yeah.
Guess what his alter ego was going to end up being.
Yeah.
So, like, fair, like, whatever. I mean, I'm not that fussed about that. So the next one, I'm just going to skip on because I don't. The next one on the list is the Divergent series, Ascendant.
Skip that? Oh.
I'd like to skip it, but I'm just going to make a really quick point about this because this is actually an interesting story. So this was when obviously the Harry Potter and the Twilight books were running rampant.
Tween books.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the next one that was supposed to be huge.
My brother read it, cried in the ending.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well,
he was young.
He didn't do our theme, so
he was young.
He can do it.
I don't know if he full on cried, but there was like definitely.
Well, he might cry when he hears this story. So long story short, it was obviously based off the Divergent book series, and in the same style as the other movies I just mentioned. They did the first 3, and then they got the last book, and they were going to split it into 2. But what happened was, because they were having diminishing returns on the movies, people weren't going to see them. They essentially found that doing the second part of the last movie wasn't feasible. So they were like, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make it into a TV show instead, and then eventually spin off from it. But the interesting...
Who greenlit that?
A TV movie, and then spin off from it. But the interesting thing is, as soon as lead actor, I'm never going to say this right, Shailene Woodley, the main character, found out that was the plan, she jumped ship. She was like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to do it. It's not a movie. It's not going to cinemas."
Yeah,
and it just got cancelled. So there's this line of movies that just don't end. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
By then, you would have imagined that like they knew that this wasn't going to work by the third movie.
I mean, like,
fourth.
So strange. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting story. Like, don't give a shit about the movies, but that's kind of fun that she jumped ship and the whole thing fell apart. Anyway, so the next one is the Expendabellas, which is the female-led version of the Expendables.
Can we skip this? Not.
Okay, great.
Well, maybe
Me neither.
Who would they even cast?
I feel like there's a few you could use. So, for example, Linda Hamilton from the original Terminator movie. You could use her. I'm really racking my brains here. Like, action stars. Sigourney Weaver.
Yes.
Like, there's 2, but I'm really struggling to think of more female action stars. Like, obviously, this is a bygone era. If you're talking about the 80s and 90s, wasn't overly action star heavy. Maybe Angelina Jolie from her role in Tomb Raider.
God, I'm falling asleep.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, this isn't one
and this is not just because it's the Expendabellas. The Expendables. I didn't care about it.
Actually, I quite enjoyed the first one. Then they went peach. Anyway, the next one on the list is the Inhumans. The reason I quite like this one is because it's probably one of the only Marvel properties that didn't actually work out for them. The story behind the Inhumans is actually really interesting.
Why didn't it work out for them, Tommy?
Well, the story behind the Inhumans is actually really interesting. Let me finish my fucking sentence.
That's the point. I was supposed to be leading.
You asshole.
Let me ask leading questions.
Please. Okay. Well, go and ask the question. Do it again.
Why didn't it work out for Tommy?
You dick. No, it is actually really interesting. So what was happening with Marvel at the time of this was... So obviously, previously X-Men was with Fox and a few of their other properties, Fantastic Four, etc. So what Marvel Comics did, obviously they were on a trajectory going through the stratosphere, and what happened was they wanted those properties back. So what they did was in the comics they started to write out, not necessarily write out, but they sort of slowed the progress of these characters and eventually stopped writing about the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and etc. And the Inhumans were what were brought in to replace the X-Men.
Okay.
This was their big bet until it essentially fell through at Fox and they could take the rights back.
Okay.
Obviously, we know the story. They ended up buying back.
Yeah.
But the Inhumans was apparently was one of Kevin Feige's favorites, and he tried to push this.
For phase 3.
Yeah. It just didn't work out. It obviously became a really crap TV show. It has a great cast. It had Ramsay Bolton in there.
From like BBC shows as well.
Had Ramsay Bolton in there?
Yeah, well, he's from BBC shows. What's he from? He's in something.
Look, anyway,
Misfits.
I just thought it was interesting. Is that BBC? No, it's Channel 4.
Whatever.
I just find it really interesting.
It's all BBC to me. It's across the pond.
Brits, yes. Friend from across the pond.
Yeah.
I just think that's really interesting that's one of the ones that just didn't actually work out. So the next one is MIB 23. Do you know this?
Mission in Black. Sorry, Men in Black. Mission in Black. Men in Black.
Let's talk about Mission in Black. Is that a new one?
I don't know. I don't know what that could be. Men in Black with 21 Jump Street.
So interesting.
Weird intertwined universe. I just don't. You told me about this before, but I just don't understand how it exists.
We've talked about this before. So it's not basically, look, this sounds like a fever dream by some random writer in Hollywood. But in 2010's, the Men in Black franchise was supposed to cross with the Jump Street franchises, where they had Jonah Hill involved, they're Channing Tatum on board. No word on the likes of Will Smith, etc. Well, obviously, Men in Black got remade anyway. Mm-hmm. But so the project was that the 21, 22 Jump Street guys had to join forces with the Men in Black to deal with some alien stuff. And it was going to be a lot of hijinks and a lot of fun. But they have essentially, the quote from the producer, Walter Parks, was, he admitted defeat. I can't speak today. He admitted defeat. He says we gave it a shot. It turned out to be impossible to match up. Fair enough, you tried.
Would have been funny, though.
That would have been a funny fucking movie.
If you're asking me which ones I would have wanted made, that one.
Okay, well, the last one, and I'll talk about this really quickly, is Star Trek 4. So they obviously remade the Star Trek franchise, early 2010s?
Yeah.
I've completely forgotten. So the problem with this, they obviously made 3, Into Darkness and...
The one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
That is Into Darkness, and I've forgotten the third one, whatever. So the problem with this movie was that in the original movie had Chris Hemsworth as the father of Chris Pine. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yes,
who plays Captain Kirk.
Yes.
So he was the original Kirk. But in that movie, Chris Hemsworth is unceremoniously killed in the first 10-15 minutes. Spoilers for Star Trek 1 from whenever. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to bring back Hemsworth's character. But in the time between 1 and 4, obviously his star has gone stratospheric from Thor. All the other stuff has been in. Funnily enough, he was in the MIB remake we talked about a minute ago, even though that wasn't good.
He's so young in this.
He's so young in this.
That's wild.
But they wanted to bring both actors back, and just by the sounds of it, they couldn't afford both.
But figure it out. Figure it out.
Look, man, if you've got a cushy role with Marvel and doing your Netflix stuff, why would you want to go back? And Chris Pine's now doing Wonder Woman. He's in.
I just think it's because the fact that they were both in this before he was big, it's just such a good premise. It's
they never cross paths. So it's obviously his father.
Yeah, and that's the point. So it's this timeline. You could do a time.
That's what the first one was.
Cool.
Yeah,
you could do that again though.
Now I enjoyed the first one of those movies. I thought the Benedict Cumberbatch one was good. It didn't blow me away. It was fine. Mm-hmm. Good movie. I enjoyed them. I thought they were good. I didn't actually see the third one. I kind of jumped off a little bit towards that. But getting I agree with you. Getting those two actors together in a film
would be fun.
Would be real fun.
And it'd be this big cocky who can outman each other film.
Well,
which I think would be funny.
I disagree because I think Hemsworth's character is very stoic in his role. So I think it would be almost
depends when you find him though. Maybe he wasn't stoic.
Maybe, but I think it would be almost trying to knock Chris Pine's character into shape, trying to stop him being the cocky guy.
Yeah, maybe,
which would be really interesting. Okay, right. So they're all your movies. We've talked a little bit about each of them. I've enjoyed talking about some of them, less other ones. Now, my first question to you is: if you could revive one of these movies, which would it be? So let me just go through them again. Neil Blomkamp's Alien, Guillermo del Toro's At the Mountain of Madness, The Bride of Frankenstein, Divergent Series Ascendant, Expendables, Inhumans, MIB 23, Star Trek 4.
I would say MIB 23 or Star Trek 4. Can't choose. Toss up.
MIB 23. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny.
That's interesting.
I would love that. Just think about all those actors. They're all really good too. Be fun.
Do you think it would work well? Because I
like about 20 so because 21 Jump Street was so ridiculous. Like Jonah Hill as like an agent. Like why not just have Jonah Hill killing aliens? It's like it's not that far removed.
So fun story about that movie. I hadn't seen it until about 3 months ago. Okay. Now, when things had just started opening up in Sydney, you know, all the bars and stuff, and you could go and have little bits here and there.
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend, we went and we went to, I can't remember what we had. We just had like, it was some bar and they didn't even have their dinner menu on yet. So we just had like these fucking cheese toasty things, but we were drinking wine and my tolerance to booze during COVID lockdown has gone.
Yeah.
I am terrible now. I used to be able to drink whatever. Now, anyway, long story short, I got really drunk and we went back to her place and we put a movie on and I was watching goddamn 21 Jump Street. And I have not laughed that hard in so fucking long.
It's a good movie.
That movie is fucking... The bit where he's eating the Doritos and then fucking Johnny Depp's in it at the end as a callback.
Total cameo,
it's fucking great.
Like, well, it's a remake, right?
Well, it was a TV show.
Yeah.
But I fucking... And like, I did not foresee Channing Tatum being that good in that movie.
He's hilarious.
He's so good.
There's a bunch of stories about how like those two became friends in that movie and are now best friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I love all the ones where you've obviously seen the meme where Leonardo DiCaprio sneaks up on Jonah Hill pretending to be a fan.
Yeah.
I reckon Leo would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
If you could drag him
They're all
from
boys.
the 22-year-old models.
Seriously.
Sorry, which did you choose? I got distracted.
21.
23, MIB 23. Yeah. For me, I like the Jump Street films for what they are. I'm not sure so much about that. I think at the Mountain of Madness, obviously we know absolutely nothing about it. We've talked.
That'd be a good one too.
I've already spewed my love for Guillermo del Toro enough times. I think the premise is interesting. If you read the synopsis of the book, I think it sounds like there's a lot in there. If you brought that to the present day, you use some of the horror stuff we've talked about. Fuck, that could be really cool.
Yeah, it could be. No, I agree. That's
probably one for me. That's one of those I'd probably like to see. Maybe Star Trek.
I've read that book, The Terror. I'm like, it's kind of the same story rehash for me, but like, look, could be good.
I mean, and Guillermo does what he wants. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so this was my last one, and we'll stop after this. But my last one was, let's order these let's order these from the ones you're happy to remain dead to ones you're most likely to want to see revived. Okay. So you've already said 23 Jump Street is your most likely to revive?
Yeah, I would say most likely to revive.
Sorry, MIB 23.
Go for it?
Yeah, hit me.
Would be 21 Jump Street.
MIB 23.
Whatever that one is.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
Trek. You said Star Trek.
List. Yeah, Star Trek 4.
Yeah.
And then a mountain.
Yep.
At the Mountain's Madness.
Yeah.
And then what do we have left?
The bad one. So Neil Blomkamp's Alien. We've got The Bride of Frankenstein, Divergent, Expendables, Inhumans.
Expendables or Inhumans next.
Okay.
And then the rest are all the same to me.
Y'all can stay dead.
Yeah, y'all can stay dead.
Okay. Well, I would quite like to see the Neil Blomkamp Alien film. Okay, so for me, it's probably, like I say, Mountains of Madness. Maybe Star Trek 4. I would like to see the two Chris's on screen together. That would be kind of fun. MIB 23. Then Neil Blomkamp's Alien. Like you say, the rest I'd probably give whatever. The one I least like to see out of all these made is probably Expendables. Like, what?
I'm tired. I'm tired.
No, man, I thought that was real fun. All right, well, that was our main topic. So, how do you feel?
I feel good. We're doing it a bit late this week, so heading into Friday.
Yeah, we could have done a full episode on goddamn on the news for this week.
Let's do that next week.
We are literally going to do that next week, so I'm excited to do that one. That's going to be great. So now let's move into our famous next segment. Do you remember it?
Yes, it's
correspondence.
Correspondence from fans.
It absolutely is. So we actually had a little bit of correspondence from last week, which I was really thankful for. Thank you, friend of the show, Steve. I'm going to call you out up top because he is essentially now he's doing all our research. He keeps sending me all the goddamn news stories. So if I've missed something, he's going to be the one to call it out. There is actually a couple that he did send over this week that we just didn't have time to talk about.
Okay.
So thank you, Steve. Keep them coming. Love it. It's great. It's great stuff. Thank you so much. We appreciate everyone who messages in. But also, I'm going to call out friend of the show, Ollie. Now, friend of the show, Ollie, messaged and basically said that thanks to our podcast last week, he's been inspired to reinstall God of War.
There you go.
We obviously talked about it in our games we wanted to see as movies, which was real fun. And he says it's about time he does a new playthrough. I'm down. I'd love to replay God of War. I just don't have time.
Yeah,
like, fair play to you, mate. Like, that's an incredible game. So thank you very much for correspondence. That's awesome. And if you do want to message the show, Dre will now tell you.
thepodcastassemble@gmail.com.
You
got it down.
You sound so excited about that.
Got it down now.
You've got it down. Yeah. And the
thanks
Twitter.
to the old mate who like tweeted us that podcast assemble on Twitter as well. That was completely random.
What was that?
Remember, it's the guy that tweeted us, and it was just like, I think it was probably a bot.
Probably. Bot. So talking to the Twitter account, pod_assemble, or just search for podcast assemble. I put like a random tweet out this week. It got the most anything we've probably ever had. I think it got like 12 retweets, which I bloody love. It was actually, for my standards, I actually found it pretty funny.
Okay.
It was essentially, the tweet was, everyone's talking about the upcoming third Spider-Man movie, but the only third movie that we're going to be talking about is a movie that hit cinemas 16 years ago this week, which was Blade Trinity.
Oh, yeah. Terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, okay. That movie was good. I like the first one. Anyway, it had Triple H from WWE in it.
That series. Anyway,
I remember the first one.
We're already at an hour.
I watched the first one. The first one was great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, that's the show for this week. So thank you very much, DIY.
Dry. My mouth is dry. I need some water. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dre from across the pond.
Tom.
It's the DRA.
It works for you. Yeah, Tom. You just sound like a grandpa though. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
See you later.